So the you haven't met yet. The you haven't met yet is the more disciplined you, the healed you, the less triggered you, the healthy you, the financially free you. There is a version of us on the inside of all of us that needs to be tapped into, that needs to be possessed, that needs to be chipped away at until it is uncovered, until it is discovered. And until you have been exposed to the possibility that there is a different version of you, that who you are today, how you are in this current moment isn't who you have to stay for the remainder of your life until you die, then you will be able to go after it. Then you will be able to possess it. The reason that a lot of people don't think about them being a better version of themselves is because, one, they haven't been exposed to it. They haven't really been exposed to better. They haven't really been exposed to a life of good characteristics and good personality traits and good morals. Most people that have not experienced that type of exposure, they are the ones that tend to say or have a harder time being able to adjust to certain things. And so not being able to adjust because you're just used to that type of life, it can cause you to bow out of things. It can cause you to back away from certain things in your life that were meant for you, but because what's meant for you is requiring you to become a better version of yourself, it is harder for you to possess what is actually yours. Because to get something you've never got, you have to do something you've never done. And it becomes uncomfortable to a lot of people when you start to challenge them as a person. You start to challenge who they are, especially people who don't really know who they are or have a hard time believing that there's a better version of them. And I have encountered a lot of people just talking to them and even people that are close to me that deal with situations where they're trying to show someone that how they currently are is not how they have to stay. And that is an ever-going fight, an ever-going battle that a lot of people actually deal with, because once a person has been exposed to better in their life, you want everybody else to experience it as well. And the thing about it is that even though it seems like it's common sense that everybody should want a better life or to be a better version of themselves, at least on social media, everybody wants to upgrade and elevate. They want a new house, they want a new car, they want better clothes, shoes, a better marriage, whatever the situation and circumstance may be. People want to elevate. But the thing about it is that they want to elevate until the thing that needs to be elevated is them. And once you start to have conversations with people and see and show them that their life, how they are, their character, their personality, their morals, values, and ethics, their habits, their heart in general, them as a person, certain things can be elevated. That's when you start to see a lot of people start to back away. That's when you start to see a lot of people start to bow out, because you hear statements all the time of, this is just who I am. God made me this way. And while certain parts of the statement is true, there are other parts that are not true. And the reason that you feel like you are how you are is because you have not allowed yourself to be exposed to a better version of yourself. You have settled for how you are because you think this is the only way that you can be. And most people don't actually understand that a better life just happens head first. A new you happens mind first. You don't come out of a situation body first. You come out of it mind first. And so you have to understand that in order for you to be able to discover, to elevate, and to get to the new you have to set up. You have to go to a different place mentally before you ever go there physically. And so a new you starts with little things. It could start with you just saying, hey, I'm going to be more disciplined when it comes to eating. I'm going to be more disciplined when it comes to finances. I'm going to be more disciplined with my relationships, how I steward my relationships, who I allow in my life. I'm going to be more disciplined with how I steward my time, me being in control of my time. And it can be in any area of your life, but it takes you being exposed to a new version of yourself, that it is possible for you to be able to elevate yourself in order for you to know and want to possess it. I think the issue that a lot of people have is they are hopeless because they don't believe that where they are, there is better. And most people, this is not all people. That is not all people. Most people know there is better, but because it takes a lot of work to get to better, most people settle for the lesser. And me doing this video is to let you know, like, it is possible for you to achieve the better version of you, but the better version of you is going to have to do things that it has never done before. It is going to have to go through things. The old version of you is going to have to do things that it has never done before to get to the better version of you, the upgraded version of you. And I think that's what a lot of people are afraid of. That's why a lot of people do not embark on a journey of elevation, because elevation requires you to have uncomfortable conversations with yourself, not even with others. And so until you're able to have those uncomfortable conversations with yourself, until you're able to be self-aware, until you're able to be honest with yourself and say, hey, I want to achieve better for myself. I don't know how to achieve better. So I'm going to do what I think is best for me to achieve better at this point. And then slowly but surely, when I'm able to do so, when I'm able to be in rooms with people, when I get exposed to it, or when I'm around people that is on a level where I want to be, I am going to ask questions. I am going to understand. I'm going to listen. I'm going to be humble enough to take notes. I'm going to ask them, how did they maintain this? How did they sustain being this? What did they do? And so understanding that there is a you that you haven't even been introduced to yet, which is the new you, the elevated you, the you that is not easily triggered, the you that does not have as much trauma as it did when it was younger, a you that is joyous, a you that is happy, a you that will allow you to have peace, a you that would allow you to be able to move better and to love better and to be able to give freely. And the new you is on the other side of the uncomfortable things that you don't want to do. There are certain situations and circumstances that have presented itself in all of our lives. And there are times where, because we don't like the adversity that's coming up towards us, we have a tendency to walk in the other direction. We have a tendency, because it is comfortable, because it is not as hard, because it is easier to just stay where we are. We have a tendency to not go to the next level because of how hard it is to just get to the next level. And so what a lot of us do, because where we previously were was not as bad as where we want to go, is not as bad as what we think it is, we'll much rather settle for a lesser version of our lives instead of go through the adversity to get to a better version of ourselves. Like, whatever that version looks like for you, just know that there is another you inside of you, but the other you inside of you, the old you that's there, is going to have to do some uncomfortable things in order to get to that new version of yourself. And so there are situations and circumstances of things happening in life to where you endure some things and those things stick with you. And so you start to build trauma and you start to build things in your life that kind of prevent you from wanting to elevate. You saw how maybe you thought someone close to you has told you a story about how they attempted to do something, and that kind of has veered you off the track of wanting to achieve your dreams. Maybe you've seen people personally in your life go after something and you saw how much damage it did to them, and it kind of scared you away and said, I don't want to ever go through that. And there is something called the principle of individuality. And the principle of individuality is what happens with them cannot dictate and determine what happens in my life, what happens with me. And so a lot of us have to understand is just because something happened to someone else does not mean that same situation will happen to me. It doesn't even mean it will go the same way it went for them. And you have to understand, you have to replace a inferior fear with a superior fear. So if your thing is this, I want to lose 60 pounds, and the fear of yours is going to a gym and looking crazy in front of people. And what you need to replace the fear with is this. What would happen if I go? What would happen if I don't go to the gym? Are you more afraid of not losing 60 pounds than you are of looking crazy? Than you are of looking not so well in front of people? Are you embarrassed that much that your goal has now prevented you? The feeling of fear has now prevented you from actually wanting to accomplish that goal that was placed there for a reason. Because sometimes you have to understand that certain things in your life are not just for you. And so what I mean by that is that sometimes God gives you certain desires. Psalms 37:4 says, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. So certain desires God gives you, not because certain desires God gives you because he wants you to have it, because he needs you to have it so that you can get better in order for you to get to the next level. And most people think that the desire to do a certain thing because of certain things that has happened in their life isn't really worth going after. You being a better version of yourself, most people think that being a better version of yourself isn't really necessary. I am how I am. I'm okay with being like this. I have a good life. I'm not struggling. I have a roof over my head. I have food on the table. I'm fine. But the thing about it is that most people have confused not suffering with settling. And so just because you're not suffering does not mean you're not settling. And so what needs to be evaluated in your personal life is the you that you want to be is on the other side of the uncomfortable, discomforting things that you don't want to do. And also, just because you're not suffering does not mean you're not settling. And so you have to ask yourself, can you be better? In any area, physically, mentally, financially, spiritually, whatever area it is, whether you're at have a business, whether you're at work, whether you're at school, whatever, marriage, personal life, whatever the situation or circumstance may be, ask yourself, just because I'm not suffering, because you have to understand that suffering is subjective. And so because of certain situations and circumstances that you have endured in life, your tolerance for suffering may be higher than others. And your tolerance for things because of what you went through is higher for things because of the things that you went through was very tough. You endured a lot of hardship. You endured a lot of heartache. So just because you're not suffering to the degree of which you once suffered for certain things does not mean you're not settling. Does not mean you cannot have a better life. Does not mean the you that you haven't met yet does not need to be gone after. Does not mean you don't need to go possess the you have never seen, the you that's inside of you. Because you have to understand, until you get to that place where you fulfill and go after the you that you've never met, you're not going to be fulfilled. And one of the things I can say is that Most people say that finances is one of the highest form of compensation. Not really. I don't believe that. I think fulfillment is one of the highest forms of compensation. Fulfillment means being able to do what you love to do and being able to profit from it as well as being able to help somebody else, which brings you peace in return, knowing that you help somebody else. So that, for me, helping someone else and being able to profit from helping someone else, as well as doing something that is contributing to the world and the workplace and contributing to yourself, your peace, your mental health, that's what fulfillment is. Being able to have fulfillment is what the highest form of compensation is. And don't get me wrong, money is important. The Bible says that money is the answer to all things. But still, having money but not being fulfilled is one of the worst feelings ever. Having money and not being able to have peace. And the reason for that is because on the inside of you, there's a part of you that you need to possess in order for you to step into what God has called you to do. And I don't care whatever area that is. That could be, like I said, in business and marriage and finance and in health, wealth. It does not matter the situation or circumstance. But there's a you that you have not met yet. And you need to possess it. You need to go after it. But the only person that's going to allow you to go after that is you. So I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.